Joining me now is Winton local vet nurse Libby Carn. Libby, thanks for being with us today.
No worries.
Where did your passion for being a vet nurse start, and what study is involved in that process?
So being in the vet industry probably started when my uncle's sausage dog had an interaction with a toad and had a bit of frothing at the mouth happening. And I think instincts just took over, and I kind of shoved some water down its throat and then watched it for a couple of hours to make sure nothing happened, and I found that I really liked caring for it kind of thing. And I think that's where, and I was about 16 when that happened. And so from there I just knew I wanted to be around animals. In regards to what I need to do and study for vet nursing is you have to do a Cert 2 or 3 in animal studies, and then from there you do a Certificate 4 in veterinary nursing, and then there's other bridges you can go if you want to do further things. I'm currently doing my Certificate 4.
In terms of your certificate, where do you do that? Do you, obviously it's an outback town, do you do that online? Is that at a university centre?
Yeah, so mine's all online. Because it's online, you've got to do so many things, like you have to log your hours, you have to have your vets or senior nurses sign off on any key skills, you have to do case diaries, so any patients you have, you take photos of how you've interacted with them, how you've cared for them, things like that. You do a lot of videos, you can either post your videos or you do a Zoom with an educator, just to make sure you've got your practical down correctly. And there's lots of written assessments, so it's all online, yeah.
What are some of the challenges animal owners face out here? And obviously the town and outback regions have such a history of devastating floods and obviously extreme heat in the summer. How do you guys manage that?
Yeah, so with pet owners in town, if an emergency ever happens, we're pretty lucky that we have a vet come here one day a week. But before my boss Libby was coming out, I think about nearly a decade she's been coming out now. Before that, you did have to drive 2 hours either to Longreach or to Hewenden. And if your dog's been bitten by a snake, that 2 hour could be life or death. When we had the floods at the beginning of the year, a lot of station owners lost cattle, sheep, horses, things like that. Even if they survived the floods, they could die from infection after that if they got any injuries during the floods. So at the start of the year, we were able to, I think there was some funding, and we were given some basic antibiotics and anti-inflammatories that we could give to station owners to try and help them during the floods. With the heat, if we get domestic animals having heat stroke, with our main clinic being so far away, it's hard to handle things, and some owners won't want to bring their dogs over for something that could be handled at home. So sometimes it's a lot of phone consults, just letting them know, if the dog has heat stroke, put them in some, not cold water because you don't want to put them into shock, but try and cool them down gradually. Yeah, it can be a bit difficult being so far away from where your emergency services are.
Well, Libby, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate your time.
No worries.
While many know him for his family-friendly hits, Kriv Stenders is at heart a filmmaker captivated for the quest for reality. We caught up with him on Sunday. Here's what he had to say. Best known for helming the box hit Red Dog in 2011 and later on Red Dog True Blue in 2016. Looking back, what was that experience like for you?
Well, Red Dog changed my life. It was making the film was an adventure, and what happened afterwards was an adventure. It's one of those rare times in your life when you work hard for something and it kind of pays off. So it was a very interesting journey. The film itself was very difficult to finance and get up. We almost had to close the film down in the first week because we didn't have an actor, and Josh Lucas turned up at the 11th hour and became the star. So, everyone thinks of Red Dog as a success, but there were a lot of disasters along the way. Even the dogs were dyed yellow a week before shooting, so it was a crazy process. But yeah, it was a fantastic, just a fantastic thing to have happened, and I'm very grateful.
So you keep returning to places like Winton. Why is it so important that we keep showcasing these outback towns in cinema rather than just cities?
Well, I think, the thing about Australia is it's an extraordinary country. It's so diverse in terms of its scope, its scale, its sheer size, and it's also got an amazing history. And I just see it as all one big canvas. Whether it's in the city or in the Outback. To me, it's where the story takes you. And if that story takes you to the Outback, then great, because it's still a very, I think, underutilized canvas. It's so powerful, it's so magical and so majestic and so awe-inspiring that I think you could continue to tell stories here for another set of millennia. There's been millennia of storytellers before us, and hopefully there'll be many more after us. So the Outback, I think, is a kind of a sort of a ground zero, and I think it's always going to be a source of inspiration, I think, for filmmakers.
How does it feel to watch back your films in the iconic Royal Open Air Theatre?
Well, I haven't watched it yet. That's going to happen tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. It was great watching Crocodile Dundee last night on that screen, and there's something beautiful about the church of that cinema. The idea that people congregate there, and last night was wonderful. Sold out audience, watching an iconic film in an iconic location. I mean, it doesn't get any better. So I'm looking forward tonight to have Red Dog True Blue screen there. Again, it'll be one for my little history book.
If you were to give the younger generation of filmmakers one tip, what would that be?
Run your own race. In the words of the great Slim Dusty, the advice that he would give young musicians was run your own race. Believe in yourself, because that's all you've got, and your stories are unique to you and to no one else. Don't look left or right. Don't look at what others are doing. Do what you believe. Obviously, you get influenced, and you've got to also can't be blind to what's out there. But ultimately, I think you've really got to trust your instincts, trust your passion, and have the perseverance and the persistence to continue. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, when you wake up and you go to set, it's just you. Really, ultimately, even though there's your crew, you're the person that's driving yourself. So, you might as well be doing what you want to do rather than what someone else wants you to do.
What projects are you currently working on, and what does the future look like?
I'm working on a number of projects right now. I've got a feature film called Eyes Along the Valley that I'm hopefully shooting later this year in New South Wales, in rural New South Wales. I've got another project I've been working on for a number of years called Screaming Peak that I'm hoping to shoot here end of next year, out here in Winton, out at Carisbrook Station, which I'm very excited about. And I've got a couple of documentary projects that I'm also working on. The great thing about documentaries, I can work on those in parallel with my features. And in terms of the future, look, I think I think the film industry has always been in crisis. It's always been bust and boom. Technology has always changed. It will continue to change. The sky's the limit, really. So I think for younger generations, it's incredibly empowering, incredibly exciting. And I think also, look, the old systems are collapsing, markets are collapsing, the economy of filmmaking is collapsing, but something is replacing it. You look at Backrooms and Obsession, you look at this YouTube generation that, again, are using their initiative, they're running their own races, they're creating their own set of rules, they're finding their own opportunities, they're building their own distribution platforms. And that's happened every generation. Like in the 60s when the studio system collapsed, Dennis Hopper made and went Easy Rider for $1 million. That film became hugely profitable. And it found there was a new circuit of midnight screenings and cult cinemas. I grew up in the Valhalla, back in Brisbane and in Sydney. It was an art house theatre that showed films from around the world, cult films, and it was generational. Like all my friends went. It's how we educated ourselves about cinema. So I'm very, very optimistic. As you can see, I'm very passionate about it. And I believe wherever there's a will, there's a way, and wherever there's still a passion for cinema and people still go to venues like the Royal and watch films collectively, I think film will never, ever die.
This is Sap, everybody. What's your name? How long have you lived in Winton? Winton? What's your name? How long have you lived in Winton? How do you find living in Winton? Anything to say? How do you find living in Winton? How do you find living in Winton? How do you find Winton so far, Seth? What's your opinion of Red Dog and its prequel Red Dog True Blue? Are you going to watch the screening? What's your opinion of Red Dog and its prequel Red Dog True Blue? Are you going to watch the screening? Are you going to watch the screening? Do you think that the film's representation of dogs is accurate and ethical? What do you like to do in your spare time? What do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, that's all for today. Make sure to tune in every night from 9:30 p.m. on CTV Plus as we take you behind the scenes of the Vision Splendid Outback Film Festival, only on The Reel. Good night for now.